What's going on, everybody? American Football Network here with another video today. And today we're bringing you our Penn State football preview prediction video. But before we get started, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Help us hit that goal of 1,000 subscribers by the end of August. We are, as I'm making this video, we are currently at 970. So we are 30 away. We're really closing in on that goal. So help us hit that goal of 1,000. Also, check out our shop. I'll put a card for the link right here. Also, you can find the link in the description. You can find some tagged products at the bottom of this video. You can also find the link to our store on our channel homepage. Just go over to the store tab and you can find some cool products over there, as well as a link to the shop with even more products. So make sure you guys check that out. We appreciate all the support we've gotten over there on our shop. But let's go ahead and jump into today's video. So the Penn State Nittany Lions last year, 11-2 overall, 7-2 in the Big Ten, with losses at Michigan 41-17 and to Ohio State 44-31. This year, they return 8 starters on offense, 6 on defense, so they bring back a good chunk of that team. Not to mention they got a new quarterback in, a guy who is instantly more athletic. It's an instant upgrade at the quarterback position from Sean Clifford to Drew Aller. And I think Aller could be a guy who, at the end of the season, we're talking about maybe next year, this guy could be a Heisman Trophy finalist. Definitely going to be a dark horse for the Heisman this season. He's a guy that you could really see make a push. You look at the running back position, Nicholas Singleton, he's a guy that could be, he's going to be a lot more far stretched just given his position at the Heisman, but he's a guy that could be in the potential top 10 Heisman conversation. Last year, 156 carries, 1,061 yards, and 12 touchdowns. So, this is a guy that definitely has big play capability and a guy that is really gonna shine this year for Penn State. Hopefully, he can stay healthy. We know Penn State has had a little bit of trouble in recent years keeping these running backs healthy. Other than last year, the 2 previous years, and there goes my alarm. Other than the last year, the 2 previous years, but he stayed healthy last year and he had a great season. So hopefully the rest of Penn State can, hopefully the rest of them, they can all stay healthy this year because they've got a very good team, and they're a team that can really make a push for the playoff for the Big Ten East title. It's going to be an interesting season to see what happens between them, Ohio State, and Michigan in the East. I think it's going to be a tough battle. But let's go ahead and jump into the schedule for Penn State. So week 1, they start off with West Virginia. I have this game as a win. West Virginia is a bottom 2 or 3 team in the Big 12. I don't think Penn State will have any problem with them. I love this game being the first game for Penn State because it's not just some easy team that you get week 1. It's a team that can challenge you a little bit, but also a game that's not going to be, extremely difficult. It's not like LSU FSU matchup week 1. It's a team that can push you a little bit. You're going to get some good experience in for these guys, these starters for 2.5 quarters. But it's also a game that you're going to feel pretty confident about. You're going to win, and so it's not going to push you too much, but just enough to get that real live game action, not just scrimmaging against each other. So I like that. Then in week 2, they get Delaware. I have this game as a win. Again, I like this game in terms of just getting these guys, these early season kinks that every team has early in the season, helping get those worked out, help get Aller settled in as the starting quarterback. Last year, he only threw 60 passes. Was 35 of 60, 344 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. So to get him into, getting him starting these first 2 games before you get a test, I will say in week 3 is pretty key. But 2-0, then they go on the road to Illinois. I have this game as a win, though. I think this is a game where they're really going to be pushed a little bit. We remember they didn't play last year, but 2 years ago, the crazy game between Penn State and Illinois that went into like 5-6 overtimes, I think it was. And I believe Penn State won that game like 19-17. It was very low score and went into a bunch of overtimes. crazy game, but I do believe Penn State won. Illinois might have won, though. I can't quite remember. But, I think it's going to be a similar game. Not saying it's going to go into all those overtimes and be as low scoring, but I think it will be a test. I think Penn State will have a hard time running the football in this game. I think that Illinois is going to give them a good fight, but I think in the end, Penn State will pull it out, and it'll be a closer game, I believe. But I do think that Penn State will pull it out in the end and get the win by 10 plus points. Then they get Iowa at home. I have this game as a win. It's going to be tough to score on that Iowa defense, I would say, but I think if Penn State can get 20 points, then they've got the win. I just see Iowa having a hard time scoring points this season. I think that if Penn State can score, 14, 17 points, they'll be in a pretty good spot to win the football game. And I think Penn State can definitely score more than that on the Iowa defense. Then they go on the road to Northwestern. I have this game as a win. I think Northwestern's probably the worst team in the Big Ten, them or Indiana, and I think it's Northwestern, to be honest with you. And so I think Penn State can get a win here. I don't think this is going to be too much trouble. Northwestern is in a mess. Won one game all last season. Then they just now, about a month ago, probably fired Pat Fitzgerald. So they're in a mess. I don't think Penn State will have any problems with them. Then they get UMass at home. I have this game as a win. I think UMass is nowhere near the talent level of Penn State, obviously. I don't think they're going to be able to compete with Penn State. This might be a game for a quarter, but that's about all you're going to get out of UMass. Penn State should roll in this one. Real quick, we are, halfway through the season here. I love this schedule set up by Penn State. You get, in the Big Ten, you get 3 out of conference games and 9 conference games. I love the way they have this set up where they get West Virginia to start week 1. That's going to be, it's not a tough game, but it's a game you're going to get challenged in throughout the game. Then you get Delaware. Then you get 2 or 3 straight Big Ten games, 2 of them against weaker teams. You get one test at Illinois, and then you get a UMass team right before you go on the road to Ohio State. So I love the way the schedule is set up for Penn State. They've got some challenges to work some stuff out, but they also have a lot of games mixed in that are, games that they're not going to be worried about. So I like the schedule set up from Penn State before they start that last conference push at the end of the season. And that starts when they go on the road to Ohio State October 21st. And I have this game as a loss. I think this is going to be a tough battle game. Penn State lost this game to Ohio State at home last year, 44-31. I just think with this being a road game, that's going to make it difficult. And with them losing 2 of their 4 secondary pieces, I think that's going to be hard as well for them. No Joey Porter Jr. this season. That's going to hurt, especially in this game when you face the nation's best wide receiver core. I think this will be the first real test for Drew Aller. Go into a tough environment in a big game. We'll really see what he's made of. If he can win this game, then again, that Heisman talk gets a little bit better for him. But I just see Penn State having a hard time winning this game. I think Ohio State gets the win there, so a loss for Penn State. Then they get Indiana at home. I have this game as a win. Like I mentioned earlier when we were talking about Northwestern, I think Indiana and Northwestern are the bottom 2 teams. You can debate which one you want to put lower, although I'm sure that's a debate nobody really cares to have. I have Northwestern last, Indiana right above them, not too far ahead of them. And so, I just don't think they have the talent to play with Penn State. I think they're in a tough spot. They've really come a long way from that good season they had 2-3 years ago with Michael Penix. Everything's kind of fallen through since then. I believe that was in 2020, actually. Yeah, because 2020, then he got injured with them in 2021, transferred to Washington last year. Yeah, so 2020, Tom Allen is, really fallen far from that. I believe they went like 8-3, something like that. They were ranked top 10 team there for a little bit. They've fallen a long way since then. I don't really like what this Indiana team is. I think Penn State gets the win here pretty easily. Then they go on the road to Maryland. I have this game as a win. They beat Maryland last year in a similar spot, actually the same slot in the season, pretty much. They beat them last year 30-0, and so I don't think that Maryland is going to be much improved. I think they'll be an improved team, I think they will, but we see how Maryland just falls apart at the end of seasons. And so, I'm not a big fan of Maryland. I do like Tua's brother. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce the brother's name. Tua was hard enough. But it's like Talia Tagovailoa, but at quarterback for Maryland, I think he's pretty solid, but he's just not going to be able to overcome this Penn State monster. And so I have a win there for Penn State. Then they get Michigan at home. I have this game as a loss. I think it's going to be a closer game than it was last year when they went on the road and lost 41-17, but I don't think it'll be much closer. Michigan just matches up really well against Penn State. They're going to be able to bully them on both sides of the ball at the line of scrimmage, and McCarthy's going to be able to make big plays down the field. But again, if Aller can find a way to win this game, especially if they beat Ohio State too, then this dude is going to have huge Heisman talks. He's definitely a dark horse for it. He's got the Heisman moments laid out on the schedule. The only question is, can he come through? I don't think he will against Ohio State, Michigan. I'm not saying I don't think he will play good. I just don't think that even if he plays good, they're going to be able to pull out the win in those games. But then they get Rutgers at home. I have this game as a win. I think Rutgers is, a solid team, but I think they're still 4-8, 5-7 team. And I think Penn State is just clearly much more talented and can, kind of take out their anger in this game. A little bit like they beat them last year on the road, 55-10. So, I think that it's going to be a similar score. I don't really like Rutgers in this game. Then to close out the regular season for Penn State, they go on the road to Michigan State. I have this game as a win. I think Michigan State's in a mess. No Keon Coleman, no Peyton Thorne, no Kenneth Walker like they had a few years ago at running back. They're missing a lot of stuff. I think they're a 5-7, 6-6 team. I think Penn State is clearly much better. I think Penn State gets the win here pretty easily, much like they did last year, 35-16. I see it being, something similar to that. But that wraps up the regular season for Penn State. I have them going 10-2 overall, 7-2 in the Big Ten. I think this is a solid season for them. I think they'll be a top 10, top 15 team. I think Aller's going to have a great season. I think Nicholas Singleton will have a good season. And I think that this is definitely going to be a year that they can build on going into next season. When you have Aller in his second year starting quarterback, he'll be a junior. So I like where Penn State is going. I think they're going to be a very solid team again this year. We'll see if they end up in the Rose Bowl again like they did last year where they beat Utah 35-21. We'll have to see, but it's going to be a good season for Penn State. But that wraps up today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below and what you have Penn State going, and I will see you guys